everyone, welcome once again to Gotham Discussions. I am Captain Logan, and with me as always is the amazing Steve Baxi.
Hello.
And the incredible DanzNewz.
Hi.
How you doing, guys? Are you
Good.
ready for more amazing discussions about Gotham? Awesome. Yeah. That's what we're here to do. Can you believe that it has been a month now? We've had a whole month of Gotham already?
Yeah, that's crazy. Not enough Gotham. There needs to be more Gotham.
There needs to be more Gotham?
More Gotham.
Dan wants one of those, like, online miniseries that goes along with it where we just follow around one of the characters. Like, who would it be? Who would it be?
Barbara,
would it be?
Barbara. Just a Barbara miniseries online.
See, I was going to say that in order to torture you, Dan.
Yeah. Her doing absolutely nothing in the apartment. That's what it would be.
No, she's just making lists of things to complain about to Gordon. Like, what are like next to her grocery list? She has like a grocery list, and then she has like the things that I can say to try to up the drama on the show I'm in. That, yeah. No, I was thinking like maybe like the Edward Nygma Chronicles, and then you play it like Dexter, and like.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely a way they could go with it.
So today we're going to talk about the latest episode, It's Arkham, and before that happens, we're going to answer some questions and talk about some of the comments from last time. The first one comes from George Simmons, who says, "Hey guys, it may be too soon to tell, but do you think that the show will follow Arrow's lead and start implementing more sci-fi comic book science, i.e. Clayface, or keep a serious tone throughout the show's entirety? So does this stay grounded, or do we go into the sci-fi realm? What do you guys think?"
It's hard to say, because it's really dark and gritty right now, but it's almost making fun of how dark and gritty it is. And Arkham is almost off the page kind of dark and gritty, so it could very easily do the Arrow route. I don't think that would sit well with Fox, though. So if they have any intention of doing it, I think Fox might block it.
Why do you say that?
Just like because Fox has like a pattern of these shows now.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if they'd be okay with letting the creators of this show go any which way with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's already it's very comic booky, but yeah, I don't know if it would keep the same sort of feel if it did kind of reach into that really. It's like the Nolan films. Like, I would never see the Nolan films getting too, like, I would never see them doing Clayface or something like that. And not that I'm comparing the tone 100% to the Nolan films, but I feel like, yeah, I don't know how that would work right now,
because this does seem more heightened, but more in the vibe than in exactly what they're doing. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's too early to tell, honestly. I think it's a thing that could maybe happen, but I think it'd be more likely that they would keep it ambiguous.
Yeah.
Review King MB, Montoya questioning Gordon to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because if every other cop is corrupted, then why is she targeting only Gordon? Is it only because she's in love with Barbara? Because if that's true, it's even more of a reason to dislike her character. That's a good question. I have, and somebody else on Twitter and I were jumping back and forth on this, and I was and I've been kind of preoccupied by this question of, you've got these two cops that are somehow or rather managing to still work in this city, but like uphold what the law is supposed to be and not compromise at all. Why are they able to do that when nobody else can? Is it just so that we have somebody who's honing in on Gordon and thinking that he's also really corrupt? Like, is that the only reason we're doing that? Because there seems to be a conflict of interest here where it's just kind of, it seems inconsistent. It's hard to buy that you'd have these two token cops that are able to be like salt of the earth, do no wrong kind of cops. They don't get in the middle of the gang stuff and all of that like every other cop in the city does. How are they able to get away with that? That's my big question.
Yeah.
And also a compliment to that question might be, instead of why Montoya isn't working with them, why isn't Gordon making more of an effort to work with them or get transferred up there or something where he feels like he has more allies than he does down here?
It seems like more so that Gordon is trying to fix things from a base level, because if you don't kind of maybe work your way up and fix from the stem to the top, maybe that it wouldn't get fixed that way. But yeah, no, that actually, that makes me look at that whole dynamic a whole lot differently, and kind of does make it seem pretty contrived, because there's like, they can investigate any of those cops in there that really they're all doing horrible stuff. So Yeah.
And also, wouldn't Gordon want to immediately get in good with them and try to use them to start a big task force? Like, it seems like they're almost... Like, what am I missing, Steve? Are they not kind of trying to force them to be adversarial just for the sake of drama and so that we can pretend like Gordon is out on his own? Because there's a line in this episode, and we don't have Montoya here, but there's a line in this episode where somebody says... Penguin, I think it is, says to Gordon, "You're like the last good cop in the city." I'm like, but what about these people? I don't understand that. What am I missing?
I mean, I'm not sure. It almost feels like it's trying too hard to be different, because Montoya is a pretty close ally of Gordon in the comics, and Alan's kind of the same way with Gotham Central and him uncovering a lot of corruption. It's almost like they want these cops to fight just because it'd be really different than what the characters are supposed to be. And that feels like really cheap Smallville-y kind of drama. See,
I agree with you, and I've been impressed with it for not doing that with a lot of the major comic book characters. Like I expected more of that with some of the villains and stuff, where you'd have the sort of, Clark Kent is afraid of flying because he's Superman. Isn't that ironic? We haven't really had too much of that in the show yet, but maybe you're right. Maybe we do sort of have that a little bit with these people. I just can't figure out why Gordon wouldn't want to try to work with them and make that whole thing work.
I also feel
if either one of them had a character.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
That's true. I feel like the whole Penguin line of you're the only good man left in Gotham. I feel like that's just him playing Gordon, because there's no way. Yeah, there's no way he's actually he's just probably not playing to his vanity necessarily, but he's trying to get in with him.
And Penguin is a master manipulator, right? He is manipulating everyone in this show. He tells them whatever they want to hear, and he becomes he's an empathic metamorph. He can become what anybody needs him to be in a scene, and we see that all over this episode. And that was the thing I loved the most about this one, was getting to see all of that and how he's able to manipulate himself, to manipulate everyone and work his way in to Maroni's operation. So yes, you're right, but if there wasn't a grain of truth to it, it would be difficult for me to buy that the Penguin would even say it, because Gordon would immediately go, well, no, there's these people over here. What are you talking about? So the show thinks there's enough truth to it that I would buy that Gordon might be seduced by that, and I don't get it right now. So
in the pilot, Alan and Montoya are getting information from Penguin, so clearly he knows those two guys aren't corrupt. So why isn't he going back to them at some point?
Oh yeah, that's a good question too. I don't know. So just the fact that you have any cops at all in the city that are not corrupt, and not only not corrupt, but are that like this hard line, we don't work with the mob. First of all, I don't know how they're alive. I don't know why people aren't going, why the entire mob isn't going after these, like both mobs. Like, why are they not going after these two? And how are they not making more waves than they are? Maybe I just don't know enough about them yet, but I'm kind of confused as to what that whole thing's about right now.
I kind of feel like with the whole Gordon and Penguin thing, Penguin is really rooting himself, specifically in this episode, into Maroni's camp, and I feel like since Penguin has no connection to the Falcone Mooney side, I feel like he's probably going to use Gordon to that advantage, because his partner is in with Mooney and by extension Falcone. So that could be the route. Maybe he's keeping Gordon on the line to affect the other side of things with Mooney and Falcone, just to kind of add those strings everywhere. Who knows? I mean, it could play out completely differently, but that could be an explanation.
Darth Sandwich, didn't the Jewish guy say he stole my balloons? Really? Did somebody actually say he stole my balloons and I missed it?
Maybe.
Oh man, I've got to watch it again, because I would be very impressed with them for throwing in that little nod to '89. That whole episode, I was just waiting for somebody to finally say he stole my balloons. Let's see. Jedi Trekkie 101. I'm getting a Danish. That's what I deserve. That was that person's favorite Bullock line of the week. Yeah, good call. That was a good one. What else? Review King MB. I think we already did one for him, but I want to talk about this one too. I'm really surprised you guys liked this so much. I think the Bruce and Alfred thing has completely been gimmicky this whole time, and I just can't buy Bruce already being at this training himself place too soon. Also, this villain was too over the top for this show. It's like the show wants to be super serious with crime drama and whatnot, but then has a complete over-the-top comic book villain. It's hard to do that when Batman himself isn't present. What do you guys think about that?
I think it's working in the sense that it's not supposed to work in theory. Like, yeah, he's right that it's got this over-the-top nature and it's got this dark, gritty nature, but I think they're doing all of that on purpose. And, I mean, Bruce Wayne in the comics, he makes that vow and starts training that very night. So it's not anything we haven't seen before. It's like the show's playing him with a psychosis, and maybe we'll get more of that later on. But also with, like, Fish Mooney being so campy within the mob, I think there's enough merit in the idea that the freaks and stuff and the weird things in Gotham already happened predating Batman. And it's not like we haven't seen things like that before. So I think there's precedent for it. I think they've examined it better than maybe he might be giving them credit for, just because it does have a lot of silly bits that are hard to swallow, and they've got some overly serious bits that are hard to swallow. But I think overall they work together much better than maybe let on.
They're not always balancing it perfectly, but there's a tradition here, right? There's a melodrama tradition, and I don't want to say that this is straight up melodrama, because there is real honest to God drama here, but there's a tradition in the vein of like pulp detective and horror stuff, where you have like really outlandish, over the top, insane things that could never happen in real life, and that helps to make it more macabre and creepy and scary and dark. And I think that there's kind of maybe like they're playing with almost like a Call of Cthulhu kind of thing, where like it's not supernatural like that. It's just that they're doing things that are like really out there and not exactly possible, and trying to make that part of the seriousness of it. So I mean, I do think that it's a little bit too easy. I mean, it's a little. I resist. You can't have the weird stuff and take it seriously. I kind of resist that. I kind of think, you know me, I like to take things on a case-by-case basis, and I kind of want to look at this and say, is it believable within the world that we're getting here, not based on other things that I'm used to seeing? I think some folks, and those are valid criticisms, and maybe this person doesn't think that it's working as well as I do, and that's totally fair, because as I said, it's not always getting that right. But I think some people, and I'm not saying this person in particular, might be resisting the whole "there's freaks already" idea because of the way the Nolan films played it. If Nolan is your consummate Batman, then the escalation happens because of Batman. But that's not the only way to do it. That's not the only way it's ever been done. And so it seems like what they're doing is somewhat of a flip of that, where Batman is a product of this city, and there are things that he has in common with it, but he's also trying to change it. And so can you put those together? Can you do that? And I think that is potentially just as interesting as Batman turns a corrupt city into something even weirder than it was before.
Mm-hmm. What you guys said.
I think there's a bit of a history here too, in that whenever we get something that's really critically acclaimed Batman, and whatever follows it seems to get this harsher tone hit to it. Like Batman the Animated Series, right after the end of the DC Animated Universe, we had the Batman, and people would constantly complain about that show not being the other show.
Yeah.
And I think there's a hint of that going on with Gotham, it not being the Nolan trilogy.
And that's fair, because, you know, we all have a tendency sometimes to resist things, the very next thing, trying to do the last thing that you liked, and it's not what you had last time, and maybe you missed that, and you wish you had more of it, and that makes it, because, I mean, I had the same thing with the Batman, you know, I'll be the first to admit that, like, I was like, no, I don't like this, I want the thing I had before, you know, and I still don't think the first season of that is very good, but
I guess that's another discussion, because I think it's awesome, but
yes, I think that that is definitely a thing that is likely happening.
I definitely have a tendency to, because I love the Bruce Timm art style, and the animated series is my favorite iteration of the cartoons. But when Warner Brothers is doing all these releases of the individual titles on DVD and home video, I have a tendency to judge them just like the second it starts based on the art style. But a lot of the times I think things can really transcend like that, because I think it's all just been based on taste, because I feel like if it's a good story, I'll like it either way. So like with Gotham, yeah, it's not the Nolan movies, but if the story's good, the character's good, it all makes sense to me, then it's fine. But I feel like Gotham plays to a lot of my sense of humor and also sense of drama. So I like overdramatic stuff that also plays cheesy and it has a really dark humor to it. So it seems like a kind of like it's trying to be that Batman show that I like for me. So I don't know. I think it's very much a taste thing.
Ronald Copeland wants to know: are you going to wear that stupid suit for every Gotham discussions?
Is that why you're not wearing the suit this week?
No, I just decided not to wear it this week.
No, it's not stupid.
But no, not every time.
I was gonna buy that suit and wear it today.
Not every time. Yeah. Well, if we both wear
one
it,
day we all three of us had the suit.
Have that suit. Yeah. That'd be we might lose that guy. I don't know. Let's see. Chris Dragnet, shoemaker equals shoe mocker. Waka waka. What else? Fivekeeper 7 full. I'm tired of hearing from people who just want an actual Batman show. No, we have this prequel show which is much more interesting, so I say to those fans, guys, Batman's for the movies with the bigger scale. In over a year, we're getting Affleck in the suit, then for at least the next decade from that point, probably so, consider that a trade-off and be grateful for variety. Yeah, I have a hard time not agreeing with that. And again, if this isn't your bag, then you don't have to watch it. And also, I do still have that thing where I'm like, I'm not sure, as I go along, I'm getting less and less of this, but I do still have a little bit of that thing of where I'm like, well, you guys seem to have the budget and the ability to make a Batman show. You know, there's still a little bit of that there, but what they're doing is interesting, and I do right now, especially like with the last two episodes, kind of feel like I'm getting to see a developed part of Bruce Wayne's past that I haven't gotten to see before. And I am actually kind of enjoying that so far. You know, getting to see the days just after Bruce Wayne's parents get murdered, that's not a thing I've seen realized in this kind of detail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not a frequent thing. I would still say that I'm going to complain that we don't have a Gotham Central show, because this is essentially Gotham Central's cast like 7 years beforehand.
Yeah.
So that's kind of annoying, especially when you use so many of the same characters and use a lot of the same plot points. But on its own merits, it's interesting enough.
Also, McCaffrey says we have a Batman show. It's called Arrow, and I think that's.
He's very right.
Yeah, he's right. He's somewhat right about that. Yeah.
I'm still waiting for Birds of Prey season 2, guys. Come on, get working on it. It's been so long. Why haven't they done a season 2 yet?
Dan,
I like both of those.
Dan, yeah. Don't make fun of me, but I liked that show.
I'm joking. I haven't seen more than an episode of that show.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like,
yeah,
that was this terrible show that they should never have made. And
no, not at all. I haven't. I just haven't watched it yet.
It's not perfect. It's not great. It's got its, it's
you
not
and I
great.
have talked about it a little bit before, so I know your opinion on it, but yeah.
I like that version of Huntress a lot, and I think that is the closest thing we've ever gotten to Barbara Gordon fully realized on screen. I really like her a lot, especially because I like Oracle more than I like Batgirl. But that's a thing. Renwick Davis, I like this episode, but the big reveal that balloons pop was laughable. Did Gordon and Bullock really think that balloons went all the way to space? Yeah, we were wondering that ourselves. That was pretty great. When they play that as like the big science lesson of the episode, I think that's really funny. Like, oh wait a minute, we just learned something. Yeah, from like a 3rd grade science class.
Maybe their childhoods were just terrible. They never got a balloon.
Guys, before we jump into today's episode, there's one more little thing I'd like to do. I had an amusing chat with Eric the other day, and since Eric wasn't able to make it on Arrow Discussions this last week, I thought I would share some things that he wrote that absolutely cracked me up that are vaguely connected to this show. And we were talking about the whole shoe thing, and we were talking about we were trying to figure out like what the shoe metaphor or symbol or whatever means and stuff. And he wrote a line that made us start going back and forth, and it got ridiculous, and I'd like to share some of this, if you'll permit me. He writes, "Why shoes, Master Bruce? Shoes terrify me, Alfred. It's time to make my enemies share my dread." And then it got insane, and we recast most of the Batman universe as shoe characters. And so Eric said that his arch nemesis is clown shoes, that he drives a clown car, and then Batman drives a giant roller skate tank. And then there's Mr. Cold Feet, and he has a giant ice skate tank. And then there's Pamela Itchy, and her name is Athlete's Foot. And then there's Harvey Two Feet, and then there's Clayfoot, and he can only turn his feet into different shapes. And then there's Manshoe, who merged his shoe DNA, or who merged his DNA with shoe DNA. And I was like, Eric, shoe DNA.
Manshoe.
And it just kept going. My favorite was one of Eric's, who said Ra's al Ghul is Real Bach. And he leads the League of Assassins.
That almost sounded wrong.
It did, but it's funny because, you know, souls. Oh, the most obvious one is Killer Crocs. There's Killer Crocs, and then there's Harley Cleat, who used to be on a company softball league with clown shoes, and she was the first base coach. And then there's Hush Puppy, who's the mysterious bandaged-footed man from Bruce's past.
I want to see a picture of Killer Croc with Crocs now.
Killer Crocs. Yeah, like his whole body is just like Croc material. Yeah.
It needs to be a Ben Edlund Batman story.
That does, yeah. It could be in the show because Ben Edlund is doing the show. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk today about the latest episode, Arkham, and let's go ahead and start with Dan this time. Dan, give us something you really liked about this episode.
Again, like it was really no surprise. I really liked spending as much time with the Riddler as we did. I am so digging the Riddler stuff. It is so great. I felt like his plan, like as things were unfolding throughout the episode, it's really easy to figure out that he hired the people. It was too incredibly convenient that, you know, that the people who came in and robbed the store killed the guy he was essentially replaced, and then he happened to get a bag of money without, you know. So I saw it like immediately for what it was. Two birds, one stone. He gets, you know, to move up in the ranks of Maroni, and at the same time he gets cash. Yeah, so that was. But either way, I still really liked it, even though I figured it out really early on. I thought that was really good, and I love seeing him manipulate just everyone he comes in contact with, and that's why I felt like early on, like it's not quite 100% clear what he's doing with Gordon yet, but he's definitely has something planned with Gordon going forward.
Hey Dan, did you say Riddler and meant the Penguin?
What?
Because you said you loved the Riddler stuff, and then you were talking about Penguin.
I meant to say the Penguin.
Oh, okay. I was like, wow, that one scene was.
Damn it! Yeah, Riddler, the entire show. Oh man.
No, that's all right. I just wanted to make sure.
I actually wrote notes for this episode. Shock, and so I'm just looking at and Riddler is right there. No, but I actually really did the note I had.
I was like, damn, what did I miss? I don't think that the Riddler was moving up in Maroni's operation, and but now I'm imagining the Riddler as a restaurant manager, and that's just hilarious. So,
I did a horror movie film festival this weekend, and there was a short that was shown starring the guy like who plays Riddler in Gotham, and I was watching it. I'm like, that guy looks really familiar, but he looked considerably less skeezy in the skit than he does in Gotham, because in Gotham he has like his hair parted and he's like kind of like has his chin in a little bit and he looks kind of creepy the entire time. Yeah. But he looks like a normal dude regularly. Anyway,
wasn't he good? Was he good?
Yeah, it was actually it won Best Short at the festival. So
that's awesome.
It was very good. But I really did like the characterization of the Riddler in this, because it's obvious, it's so clear, and just the few lines he has, he thinks he's so much smarter than everybody else. He's just like, look what I figured out the entire time. And, you know, just tries to make them guess what's going on. This one, he was making them kind of guess what was going on, and also, you know, doing that I'm much smarter than you thing without being as blatant as he was in the pilot, where it's just like, hey, I like riddles. Guys, I like riddles.
Dan, I wonder if we're not seeing a pattern with some of the villains already, or eventual villains already, also, where they already know sort of like who they're supposed to be, but they've got to catch everybody else up. It's like Penguin and Riddler are both just the Penguin and the Riddler. They just have to get everybody else to realize it.
Mm-hmm. They have to build the Capitol to get the suits. Like their famous costumes. He has to start saving up for that Riddler costume, and you know, cops don't make a whole lot, so
especially forensic scientists. They probably make even less. So this is the question I want to ask about the Penguin. Love all the mass manipulation stuff. I love where all that's going. I keep getting more and more of a sense that he has a long-term plan. And when he says there's a war coming, the more I'm thinking about it, I don't think it's that he's... Like he does look far ahead. He is really good at like looking 10 steps ahead and figuring stuff out. But I don't think that it is exactly what he is saying it is. I don't think it's he can see this is about to happen. I think it's that he knows it's going to happen because he's going to make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm digging that. But the thing I'm wondering with him is, did he get... Tell me what you guys think, because I don't think there's enough to know exactly yet. But the first episode, when he got allegedly killed, did he like screw up and make a mistake, or has everything that has happened so far been his plan? Did he do all that on purpose? Did he somehow know that when he got brought up to that pier, he wasn't going to get shot? What do you
that it was going to come down to Gordon to pull the trigger.
Yeah, how would he know all of that? So I'm wondering right now if like he made like this huge mistake in what he did in the first episode in trying to break down Fish's operation, and now he's gotten smarter, and now he's flipping over to Maroni because he can't go to Falcone, or like was that his first attempt at moving up and it didn't pan out for him, or was that part of a master plan? What do you guys think?
I feel like it was more so something that he learned his lesson from.
I hope
that's
so.
how I take it.
I just think that's the only thing that makes any sense.
Yeah, because the idea of him kind of planning something so intricately that he knew it would play out exactly like that. I mean, it could have easily been anybody else who took him out to the pier and shot him. Otherwise, he like somehow knew it would be Jim Gordon. And
what was stopping Fish from shooting him right there?
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't see it that way, but what do you think, Steve?
Yeah, agreed. Clearly, it seems as though he was trying to fracture Fish Mooney a little bit so he can move up on Falcone's side, and it just didn't work out his way. Because you saw he tried to weasel his way out of it and tried to say what you wanted to hear, and it just didn't work for him that time. I think everything since then, maybe even that trailer scene that we saw a couple episodes ago, was him making this war plan as a contingency for what happened to him.
That's what I'm hoping it is. And I just wanted to throw that out there real quick, because if they go this other way, where like it was his plan the whole time, that would really irritate me. So I hope that's not what they're doing. Steve, what worked most for you this episode?
I think the politics in this episode were really well done.
I thought so too.
It's interesting because we have all these criminal factions now. We've got the Penguin, we've got Falcone, we got Maroni, and we got Fish Mooney. And then there's all of the actual political figures that are really just being played up by the other side. It really feels almost like communist China kind of thing, where these are the figureheads that are in power, but we know where all the real decisions are being made and where all the real arguments are being handled. So when we get to the very end and we see how disillusioned Gordon is because of the compromise the mayor had to make, and how Penguin's playing both sides against each other, and how they're talking about money as the speak of politicians and stuff, I think all of that really worked. And I think it works even better in Penguin's favor because he sees that the money is where all of this comes from, and he steals money in this episode. Falcone, in previous episodes, talks about it pays to have people like Penguin. And one of Penguin's most interesting traits in the comics is that he's got like a philosophy of money, of like how money rules the world and how money works and why he does what he does to get certain amounts of money. So I think all of that worked perfectly in this episode. I say perfectly because I don't think there's any real problem with the way they made the factions work. There may be issues here and there about like believability or acting or something, or drama or something like that. But I think what their intent is with all of this political drama, I think all of that's working very well.
Well, and I was really glad to buy Penguin's manipulation and that he worked everything in his favor to I don't know that he knew that he was exactly going to get the promotion he got. Yeah. But everything leading up to that I thought made a lot of sense, and I did exactly what you did, Dan, where I was like, wow, it's pretty convenient that this place is getting attacked right now. It was something similar to that in the most recent episode of Arrow, where I was like, oh, this seems convenient, and then it turns out that it's not convenient, and it was planned the whole time. I was really glad that the show continues to be a little smarter than I'm expecting it to be, because it's still early, and I still can't be sure how much I can trust it. Steve, going along with all the themes of money, I like that there was also talk about how sometimes violence isn't the way to go because it's too risky. And there's that talk about people wouldn't just immediately start knocking off politicians. They go for bribes first. I know that made a lot of sense, and I appreciate that, because they are sometimes verging a little bit too much on people just kill people because it's exciting drama and this is a show about corruption and people get killed. And so I think that was a little bit, I don't want to say it's backtracking. I think but I think that there was a little bit of let's try to reel it in a little bit and make sure that there are reasons for people to do violence to each other. But maybe there's also somewhat of a contrast and stuff there too, because you have the people who, like the big mob bosses, who pretty much just do violence when they think it's necessary. But then you have other people like Fish Mooney, who seems to really get off on the violence. And then the exact same thing with Penguin, where I don't know that he had to kill those guys at the end for that money. But there was no reason for him not to right then, because he has that line earlier where he says, well, nobody's looking for dead people, so he can get away with it. So there's a lot of stuff about, you do what you think you can get away with.
Yeah, I feel like with him killing the guys at the end, he's just trying to leave no trace that he had elaborated that. But those guys are idiots for eating those cannolis. I just the entire time I'm like, oh, you idiots! Want some? No, I'm fine. But
why isn't everyone scared to death of the Penguin just looking at him?
Yeah, that's true.
He looks horrifying, and it's not just his face; it's the look in his eyes. Like he's ready to stab anything and anyone for any reason. Also, I'm going to start a new checklist this week of Penguin kills, and see just how many episodes we get a Penguin kill and why he killed people. We got the sandwich kill, and then we got the shoe kill. Now we got the cash kill. So we'll see next time if there's another Penguin kill.
Yeah. I thought it was I'd hate to be any sort of figure of power in this city that isn't directly connected to the mob, because the last two episodes we've had so many politicians, public figures getting killed in Gotham. I felt like that was kind of weird that we had 2 episodes in a row where it was the fear of people connected to the mob or corrupted figures are getting killed. I thought that was kind of strange.
In a lot of ways, it's a bit of an escalation, because the third episode came because of things that happened in the second episode. Second episode happened because of resultant things in the first episode. Mm-hmm. Same with this episode. It's really cool how they're managing to lead you in every week. And Cap, when you mentioned earlier about how violence works in this show, I think it's really important to also throw in Bullock to that. Because Bullock, the moment he learns that 2 figureheads are knocked off, his first instinct is to say, well, it would have been cheaper to bribe them, and complains about how one corrupt official is just going to take over another's place anyway. But then he immediately goes to his old tactics of roughing up an interrogation, talking to Fish Mooney, and just trying to blame anyone for the crime and getting the easy way out. He doesn't see that he's part of the problem that he's complaining about, the same way Falcone does in Pilot, when he's talking about he loves this city and he loves crime, but he doesn't see how those two things can't work together.
Yeah, you're right. There's a contradiction there. He knows he's part of the system because he thinks it's the only way he can stay alive. That was demonstrated really hard at the end of the first episode, where he's like, Gordon, you're going to have to kill that guy or you're going to die. I'll do it. I mean, and I loved it in that first episode when he said, I don't know if I have the stomach for it, but I'll do it because I have to. And yet he doesn't, and yet he thinks that he hasn't been fully immersed in that system yet. I am very much looking forward to him resisting it finally. When we finally get, and I'm sure we'll get there, when we finally get to the day where Gordon has convinced him that there's a better way and that they can change things from the inside out, it's going to be really interesting to see this guy, as much as we're getting to know him, trying to change his habits.
And I think it would work really well because Gordon, in the comics, animated series, and stuff like that, he's always like a harder-edged Gordon, but he always follows what Gordon says. So I think it'd be really cool if we kept this actor and we kept how he kind of his own rule book, but we have him playing with Gordon now, and I think that could definitely work very well, especially because you could keep some of the harsh interrogation scenes, because that's kind of in Bullock's character.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about, excuse me, let's talk about Arkham. Right now, Arkham is mostly working as a plot thing. It's the political thing that everybody's after, and then of course we get the idea at the end that it's finally going to open. So we're gonna deal with the freaks and things being there eventually. But I think it's kind of it makes a lot of sense that it's not the episode isn't really as much about all the stuff that Arkham stories are usually about, because it's not open and it really can't be. So I like that they didn't rush all of that yet. The thing that I'm really latching onto with the idea of Arkham is if that was one of, or really the Wayne's only really big, this is the way we're gonna try to help fix the city things, it adds a whole other personal layer to the eventual Batman's weird thing with Arkham. I really like that whole thing where now Arkham is part of his parents' legacy, and if you have the whole like crazy villains get thrown in Arkham, and Batman, I guess I'm kind of projecting what we know about Batman and other things, but if you look at, say, Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, the video games, where you have this idea that maybe Batman kind of belongs there too, because he's not so dissimilar from the freaks that he puts away. I think the idea of adding even another layer on top of that of Batman, your parents failed with Arkham, you failed with Arkham, and then this idea, then this notion that maybe he is as psychotic as his villains and he should be put away there too. I really like that extra layer to that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't play video games, so I don't know what this Arkham City you're talking about is, but it's definitely a very interesting idea. I thought the absolute same thing. I was like, now that Bruce knows that this was his family's potential legacy, that they were trying to leave Gotham and trying to instill a bit more of hope in there. I clung on to that idea too, where it's like he has such a deep personal connection to it now. I could see why he would want to believe in the idea of rehabilitating these people he will eventually be putting in there. And yeah, I definitely thought that was a really cool idea.
Yeah, and it's really cool because in Arkham City, Bruce is completely against that, and he wants Arkham City shut down. But in this, it's a completely different thing, where Arkham's supposed to be Arkham City's supposed to be low rent housing, and we were going to rebuild Arkham and make it work. But at the end of this episode, we realized when we only got the contract to rebuild it, it adds a reason for why Arkham is always kind of downturned and doesn't work well. And it gives Bruce a really personal reason to look into mentally unstable problems in Gotham in general. Like, now he's not just going to put on a costume and stop gangsters. Now that he knows that Arkham was built for a reason and his parents wanted to do something with Arkham City for a reason, it gives him an extra reason to look into, does Gotham really need an Arkham, and where are these problems coming from, and why he has to resort to that level.
Yeah, well, and importantly, Arkham Asylum is part of that system that Batman can't let himself be a part of, and it's part of the system that Gordon is attempting to change. So, it'll looking forward, it'll be kind of interesting to see what Bruce's relationship with that is, because there was this, they make a big deal out of compromise at the end of this, and it was too much of a compromise, and so Bruce can't cling, he won't be able to cling to it. You'd hope that he doesn't, and so I kind of think that I would hope that it would be less that he'll be in denial about what Arkham ends up becoming, and more that it just drives the point much more to him, home for him, of what is wrong with the city and what it could have been if his parents had still been around. I just like the idea of making it so personal for him. I think that makes a lot of sense. Also, Steve, we jumped the gun with the whole Arkham City thing, because they're not going where I thought they were going with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's completely different the way they're doing it, and I think it's actually a really good idea, because the Wayne family is always trying to clean up the city. Like, in every iteration you see, they're always doing something to that effect. And Bruce Wayne, when he's Batman, he's always throwing money around at children's hospitals and orphanages and stuff. Now he's got a completely different purpose and completely different philanthropy associated with his family.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about, like, mental health, and we're talking about homelessness and stuff. And those aren't social problems that are ever really brought up in Gotham outside of, like, the really, really early Bob Kane, Bill Finger comics. And that's more of a Superman issue anyway.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. But at the same time, it is very classic Batman in that it's playing with that idea of of maybe Gotham is just so far gone that you shouldn't do anything with it. You know, like we need to just break it down and start over. If you try to fix the problem, you will only make it worse. And so, in a roundabout way, Bruce's parents have already done what he's going to do as Batman. They've made the city worse by trying something, because, or at least we can assume that because you know that this Arkham thing is going to be really, really bad. And I was mortified by the mayor's speech at the end when he's like, "We came up with this great compromise." Did anybody else think that we came up with this great compromise? What we're gonna do is we're gonna have low rent housing, and in the exact same place, waste disposal. like this city is even worse than we thought it was. Like corruption, sure, but if people are far enough gone that they're going, "Oh, good, we came to a compromise by putting freaking toxic waste right now." Really? What? And then crazy people right next to that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He was speaking directly to the mob bosses, not the public right then. It was just like, okay, compromise on your guys' thing. But
yeah, he was
not so much to the
basically,
people.
you're right, he was in a press conference saying, "Please don't try to kill me anymore."
Exactly. I like how like Bruce saw that Bruce saw it as a defeat essentially, and then Gordon's like, "No, this is like a small victory because you know this theoretical war didn't start." Yeah. Hello?
Dan?
Oh, was it wonking out?
Yeah, there was a little bit of wonkage.
Right.
Were you going somewhere with that?
Not really.
Okay.
I just thought it was an interesting idea. That's all I'd point out on this show. That was an interesting idea.
No, I'm with you. That is an interesting idea.
Yeah.
It's also really cool because there's that obvious thing of like you're gonna put crazy people right next to waste disposal, and how much worse is that gonna make the problem? For how easy is it going to be for mobsters to just kill people and put them in the waste disposal plant or something like that? And
oh God, that's a good point. Mayor, now, are we going to use waste? Sorry, are we going to use waste like kryptonite in this show? I really hope we don't do that. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And you wonder if there's a bit of an issue of loyalty in this episode because we have the assassin that's working both sides to get rid of Maroni's votes and Falcone's votes, and then the mayor is just sitting there in the middle as being the target, and he doesn't have loyalties one way or the other. He just kind of wants to survive. The same with the assassin. And at the end of the day, Penguin's kind of building up his rank in the Maroni front, but he doesn't have loyalties to them either. Neither does Fish Mooney. And you wonder, how does this city even stay stable if we keep compromising, but the compromises make more fractions?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you just, at the end of the day, you got to get rid of these mob bosses, you know, and that's...
I'm surprised it didn't go the route of Maroni hiring this assassin to kill Falcone's assassin, and then he would have just had this moral dilemma, like, okay, I don't know if Spike, yeah.
Well, he's a professional. We have to talk about it first.
Jeez. He's like, oh, I guess I'm a professional. He just kills himself. Yeah.
So I like that the war is brewing this early. We keep hearing Penguin talking about it. I'm glad that we already have kind of a sense of what it is that he's talking about. I'm glad that we got Maroni this early, especially because I really like that actor, and I kind of wasn't expecting Maroni to be a regular character. We've now seen him about as much as we've seen Falcone. So I get the sense that they're going to both continue to be on screen together. It'll be interesting to see which one gets knocked off first. I don't think there's any way both of these guys survive the season. I think somebody ends up going. But I also think it could be Fish that ends up going. Although, a lot of people are speculating one of them gets knocked out and Fish gets to take over. And I think that, and of course, Fish is trying to get rid of Maroni, of Falcone. Already, the politics are pretty good involved, right? Where like, you know, you got the stuff Penguin's doing, you got the stuff that Fish is doing, then you got the two mob bosses doing things against each other. Something I thought was really interesting is there's somewhat of a young versus old motif going on, where the older people that have been doing this for a long time are kind of out of touch, and tired and have been doing this for too long, and kind of think that they're like with Maroney and Falcone, I think that their standard like games and plans that they've always used will continue working. Meanwhile, you've got like the younger people coming up that are smarter than them, and figuring out what they can do to kind of get them out. And so I kind of think that this like kind of old versus young motif might start taking more shape as it goes along. Right now, I'm seeing a hint of it, but I think that could turn into a big thing.
Yeah. No,
Good.
I thought I last episode or last discussions I talked about how I wanted to see Mooney kind of get a little bit more to do other than sitting in her club and ordering people to be killed. And this episode, we definitely got a sense that she's planning something bigger, which I really liked.
Yes.
With the tryouts.
Yeah, I know.
Going on with their.
How does anybody not watch that scene and go, "We're having tryouts"?
I saw your live tweeting about it, and I thought I watched it this morning. I thought the exact same thing. I'm just like, is she gonna grab a pool cue and just snap it in half and toss it to them? But
then it was like almost more brutal because we got to see it. And that's the thing about the show, is that I do think that there is, and we can talk about whether or not this is working, I think that there is some shock factor with the show where I think things like that kind of work a little bit better if you don't see it. Like, I've been impressed whenever Penguin, and I think this is like a thing with him, where he's talking to some people and he's getting along with them, and any time Penguin starts getting along with someone, you know they're not going to make it, and they'll do a really close push on his face, and then they'll cut to a new scene, and you know those people are dead.
Oh, yeah.
And then there are points where it gets really brutal and almost surprisingly brutal for TV, and they kind of show you everything. And I wonder if, in some ways, I think it's really effective because they don't show you stuff often enough that when they do, I'm like, whoa, oh my God,
yeah.
You know, and like, so I'm sure that on the part of the writers and the producers, like probably what they're thinking is you need to actually see some of the brutality sometimes in order to appreciate just how bad it is.
To get some weight to it, yeah.
And then also it builds tension because you don't know when it's going to happen, and if we never saw anything, then it would just be kind of, we're putting it in the background so kids can watch the show or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, this episode started off with a guy getting stabbed in the eye, and I was surprised to see that. But at the same time, there seems to be
that was goofy.
You know, going off your shoe motif a little bit, there's some eye violence that's been happening.
Eye violence.
Because
yes.
You know, we saw the guy before who had gotten his eye scratched out or whatever by a cat, and you know, then got shot right after that. And now we have the guy looking in the thing and getting stabbed in the eye. What does the eye mean to you guys when you break it down? The symbol of the eye. I mean, you see with it. And
well, if I want to get pretentious and look too far into it for a minute, then the idea, if there is a motif there, and I hadn't really noticed more eye stuff.
Just mainly those two.
If that is a thing, then it's I think people not having foresight and seeing what the city really is, and being just kind of gullible and allowing themselves to see whatever they want to see, because that guy was really stupid. You do not, first of all, you never pick up a thing that a guy's not even telling you what it is. It could be a flute, it could be a telescope, you don't know what it is, and he just goes, yeah, just put that up to your eye. It's like, no, I was in second grade. I know you don't do that. At the very least, he's going to have a black ring around his face, and General Juma's henchman is going to be like, ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
No! So, how is anybody... But when you live in Gotham, you especially don't put random crap up to your face.
With a random stranger walking up.
Especially when he says, I invented this a long time ago. This is my great invention. Put it up to your face.
I invented the telescope. It reminded me of a scene from The Phantom. From the 90s.
Where
the guy with
and I thought that guy was really stupid.
Because it's just like, okay, yes, I've gotten my information from you. Now I actually have something for you to look at real quick. I'm obviously the mustache twirling bad guy. Please look into this, you know, eyepiece and twist it until the blades that you should be seeing right now go into your eye. But yeah.
I feel like this guy was so gullible that you could have just before been talking about the third act of Chucky 2, and he still wouldn't get it, and he still would get killed that way. Like what a moron! moron. So that's what it is. It's about people not having foresight and allowing themselves to see the city any way they want to. What other things do we want to talk about? Let's get Barbara out of the way. I don't like her. I still don't like her. Here's the thing. She is doing that typical TV drama thing, and I know I say this a lot, but it's because it's true, I think. She's doing this typical TV drama thing of trying to take the moral high ground by pretending to do the right thing in order to get information she wants, not because it's the right thing to do. That drives me crazy. You get toward the end of the episode, and I also really hated it because when she and Gordon were in the precinct, the way that scene was shot was really cool.
Visually,
and
very
I was like,
great.
why do we have to get really great direction, but I hate this character? Why is that? Because during that scene, basically what she's saying is, I have now told you the truth because I'm doing the right thing. Now you tell me about this other thing tell me about Cobblepot. Okay, two things real quick. Bear with me for a minute. The first thing is, they're not anything like the same thing, okay? Like relationship problems, like relationship stuff, like yes, you really probably should tell your boyfriend that you're gonna marry that somebody that he sometimes works with is somebody you used to date. Regardless of the fact that it was a woman, that's not even a thing. The thing is, that's a thing that he needs to know, maybe, you know? And so she's like, okay, I have finally done the right thing and told you that. Nuh-uh. That happened because Gordon was gonna figure it out, right? So then she can pretend like she did the right thing, so now he has to do the right thing. But that's work stuff. That's comp business. That is none of her business. So
but
no.
Don't you trust me? Yeah, I thought
this show otherwise is too good for that kind of nonsense.
Yeah, it's too contradictory. Like she contradicts herself so much because I'm watching that scene where she's saying, you know, we have to be able to trust each other, and she obviously had seemed to be the relationship seemed to be on shaky ground when they were arguing earlier in the episode, and moments like after she's saying, you know, how can I be with you if I don't trust you? Moments later she says, but I want to be with you with the rest of my life, and I'm just like, what? And then the end, obviously, clearly, she had, you know, leaving him in mind if he's not going to tell the truth and all that stuff. Just leave.
But like the timeline of this show, she says that her and Montoya were together for a year, and then him and Gordon were together for years. You're telling me in years of dating, and to the point where you get engaged and you're about to be married, you don't have conversations about what cop things to say and not to say?
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, when you're writing a show like this and you make a character that practically abhorrent like that, what you're really risking is accidentally making the protagonist of the show that she's dating unlikable. You're really throwing Gordon under the bus there, because I like a lot of things about him, but then he's got this thing where he's dating this girl that he's too good for, and that is manipulating him and messing with him and stuff, and it makes me kind of like him less, because this is a guy who, it's almost like he's two different Gordons, right? And not in a good way. Like, when he's at work, he can see the city for what it really is, and he's not getting deluded into thinking this is a system that can work like a lot of other people are. Now, you could just call it an idealistic thing where it's like everybody knows that it can't work, but they're just trying to stay alive. There is, you know, there's a thing called getting in a car and moving someplace else. So maybe it's just a thing of idealism, and maybe that's what it's supposed to be with him and her, where she's not who he thinks he is, or who he thinks she is, but he, like, wants to believe too much in people. But he's able to see everybody else for who they are, and it just... I'm not buying it. If the show was about that, like if that part of the show was about that, where it was like she's manipulating him and he's too blind to see it, I can maybe see that, and then he could get rid of her eventually and then move on. I don't think that's what's going on. I don't think the show realizes just how awful she really is. I'm getting the sense that the show doesn't get it, and with her, and I hate that, because it's smarter than that everywhere else, and it just seems like I don't buy that he would continue to date her if she's capable of these sorts of things. I feel like what she's capable of would have come out already. She's this kind of person. She's manipulative. She's not understanding. She pries too much into his professional life. And if she can't, you know, you'd think as a cop who sometimes maybe you can't tell your wife everything, right? They're like, it's sort of like being a soldier, or like you know, a spy or something. Every now and again, there's stuff you can't talk about. You'd think that if she was that kind of person, he would have had to have gotten away from her long ago.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys have been talking about this the last few discussions, where you've been talking about the chemistry is all wrong. They seem like they haven't known each other for that long, even though the show keeps saying they've known each other for this long.
I still don't buy it. Yeah.
Yeah, it just doesn't. I don't get it.
The problem is, if they don't do something really quick to turn her around, then when they inevitably get married, as I'm sure they will, because I feel like this show is going to want to do some comic book stuff the way the comic books go. If they get married and he has a kid with her, I'm going to resist that so hard the whole time because I want to like him more than that. I don't buy that he would do that.
I mean, one other thing before we talk, I feel like some people are going to say that we're harping on this a little bit much because she doesn't have a lot of screen time.
Oh, no, we absolutely are. But it is the biggest problem I have with the show right now. I've broken it down. I've said my piece. I'm done talking about that. Go ahead.
No, same here. But I think another problem we need to mention before we get off of her is she lives in Gotham too. And she dated a person from Gotham. Are we really saying that she's dated a person from Gotham, works in Gotham, lives in Gotham, and she can't understand why a person like Gordon, who hasn't lived here before, is having a rough time? Yeah. And how come she doesn't show any shines of everyone else in the show who's been changed by Gotham? Like, was she just so far above it for the entirety of her life that she never evolved to what other people in this show are? Like, why is she so inconsistently written than everyone else in the series?
Well, I do think... the first thing I almost said was it kind of depends on what your career is, because it seems like there are kind of regular people who live in Gotham and are able to kind of ignore everything, and as long as they don't make waves, they can kind of live sort of however they want to.
But she dated Montoya. Like, she knows this.
Exactly. So yeah, you're right. No, it just doesn't make any sense, you guys.
She broke up with Montoya over this to some extent because she lied to him, and that's what Gotham does. But she doesn't notice it in Gordon. It's really annoying.
I continue to like everything else about the show, but I can't get on board with that. Well, let's go ahead and go on to best moment, worst moment, shall we? Steve, what was your favorite moment this time, man?
Best moment was Gordon watching the mayor's speech and realizing the Arkham plan has changed from what he thought it was, that it's really a compromise, and he has to explain this to Bruce afterwards, and he's really disillusioned by all of it. Because he makes a big deal about, like, if the police can solve this, the people will have faith in them, and seeing that even the police can stop crime, but certain machines will always work the way they work, and it feels like a real breaker of hope for this guy. It's basically an exhibition of everything wrong with this city, no matter how much good you try to do, and I hope the show continues with that theme as it progresses.
Dan!
I liked the Mooney sub story going on here. I liked that it seems like this is just going to be a continuing thread that's going on throughout the series, where there's a bit of ambiguity with what she's doing, and I'm interested to see how that's going to play out and continue on. But I liked watching those scenes and being like, what's going on? Why is she doing this? And I'm hoping that it plays off really well. But yeah, I just like the Mooney stuff.
Yeah, my favorite scene, and I mean, like actually less of a scene and more of just a thread, like yours, is just again all the Penguin stuff, specifically Penguin and Gordon, and how he's because I really like that Penguin is not only trying to work his way up the ranks and change what the mob is, but he's also trying to manipulate the police. I mean, like he's got a real master manipulator take over the whole city kind of thing going on, and I like all this stuff with him and Gordon, like him and Gordon on the phone and stuff. I thought was really, really good. But I almost want to say even more than just a scene, just his suit. Penguin's suit was my favorite thing about this episode. The wardrobe of this show is really good.
Yeah, I'd have to go with the end precinct scene, just like you said. I don't want to be rooting for them to split up. I don't.
I don't
Why
either.
are they making me do this? Like the way the scene is shot, it seems like the sun is setting in the background with it through the window, and it's just like the sun is setting on this relationship, and I don't want it to be me to be down with that, but I really am. And I hope that this isn't the Barbara he ends up getting married. He finds another woman named Barbara, and she's the one he ends up marrying, because I'm getting to that point, and I don't want to have that opinion, but I just really feel like it's just they're not working together.
You know, Barbara, we've only been dating for 2 weeks, but I already feel like this could get really serious. And you are the most understanding and compassionate person I've ever dated, but the name is almost a deal breaker. I just can't decide. Yeah. Steve, what was your worst favorite?
I want to say that, but I guess the runner-up would be, because we've already talked a lot about that Barbara scene, why it doesn't work.
Yes, we have. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry.
Worst moment always falls upon the same stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, every episode, I feel like it's always going to be the Barbara scene, so now I feel like, minus Barbara scene, what's worse, but not as bad as the Barbara scene?
Yeah.
And that would be a scene where the assassin who's trying to kill the mayor walks up to the mayor's house, and it's obviously not raining, and they're just dumping water on the set. And it's really bad. Like, literally, rain doesn't fall the way they show in the episode.
We didn't talk about him, but he was awesome, and I wish we somehow could have kept him around, because I really like that actor. He was in season 7 of 24. I kept on Twitter calling him General Juma, but he wasn't General. He was Juma's henchman, and he was the guy working for Juma, because Juma was Tony Todd. What am I thinking? Like one of my favorite actors of all time.
I saw him at the horror festival. He was at the horror festival I went to.
Yeah, Tony Todd. I
love Tony Todd.
I got to talk one-on-one with Tony Todd for half an hour at a convention one time. And,
oh, did you?
Yeah, and he's awesome.
He was amazing in the Q&A we saw.
Yeah,
he was really great.
He's really cool. I don't know how I got that lucky, because right then nobody else came up to talk to him. He and I chatted for half an hour. It was awesome. But anyway, wow. Tony Todd's one of my favorite actors. But could we get him in the show somewhere? In fact, I bet we get him somewhere in the show, because
I was thinking when I was watching him during the Q&A,
actor.
I was like, he needs to be on Gotham. That would be amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, what was I talking about? That guy was awesome. I just wish we could get more of him, because he was really cool. They're pulling from their pool already of actors that have been on a lot of Fox shows, and I'm hoping that means that we'll get a bunch of Star Trek alum, because Fox or 24 had more Star Trek alum than any show I've ever seen, mostly because a couple of the producers were major Star Trek producers. So we might get some more really cool people that I like on this show. That would be great. My least favorite scene is I told you a secret just so you could tell me one. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So, favorite quotes.
Oh, I have a list of just lines I really liked.
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
I the entire time earlier in the episode, with the all the Bullock stuff, I was just like, man, this guy is lazy the entire time, and then Gordon calls him out on it.
Yeah.
And I loved his response, where he's just like, lazy? Maybe I'm just smarter. I work smarter than you, which is true. But I thought that was funny. Also, and I know you like this line, Cap, was, it's just a box of paper clips. I didn't think anyone would mind.
That I almost put that on as my favorite moment, and then I moved it to quote. But yes, it was just a box of paper clips. I just lost it.
But I guess my serious one would be, and it was a really quick line, but the mayor, when he was hustling to get into his safe, he mutters to himself, what is this town coming to?
Yeah.
And I thought that spoke volumes about the mayor and his real, the control he actually has as the mayor of the city. I thought that was really good.
Especially because he's pretty darn corrupt too, right? I mean, if the city's not up to that guy's standards, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Steve.
All right, I had two, both I thought were equally well written. The Penguin, when he's talking to Gordon, and he says, everyone knows war is just politics by other means, and isn't politics just money talking? And I also really like the line that the assassin says that his father told him, because it's something my dad tells me all the time also. He says, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication.
Oh, and brevity is the soul of wit.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was Steve. You threw out my favorite Penguins War is just politics line. Also, nobody looks for a dead man, because they wouldn't, and it makes a lot of sense. And but I'm glad that he almost needs to spell that out, because when he shows up at the beginning of last episode back in Gotham, you're like, you are a crazy person, and he's like, yes, I am, but I can make it work for me, and I really liked that. Okay, I kind of talked about the guest star I wanted to talk about. Was there anybody else that you guys noticed that we should bring up?
There was the two girls that were trying out, but I didn't recognize them from anything.
I didn't look them up. Let's go on to predictions, and I want to start with them. And I didn't bring them up at all during the general overview because I wanted to talk about them here. The big question is, what is Fish's plan? Because we are getting a really good sense of what everybody else's plans are, and Fish. Here's what I think. I think from the first episode, Fish has been trying out somebody for whatever it is she's about to be doing. I think the joke teller in the first episode was her potentially trying out this, whatever this is. Unless that was a different thing and now she's only looking for a girl for some reason. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's the only thing that would kind of disconnect it for me, is the fact that it was two different female singers in this one as opposed to the male comedian. And she also comes right out at some point and says, I'm not looking for just a girl, implying that whoever it is needs to be female.
I am really interested, I was intrigued the whole episode to know what that was about. It's not just a singer, she wants somebody, I'm thinking a right-hand man or something to go obviously do something really violent. What is that? And is the girl that she ended up choosing somebody we know? Because we never got a name for either of the girls. They were very, very mysterious about what she is and who she is. And if it is somebody we know, could we not have started introducing characters we've heard of like that in the pilot?
Yeah.
Isn't that how we should be there is subtlety there. Isn't that the way we should be introducing characters in this show?
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. There are some people saying that the girls are references to the Jokers because of the way they smile and the color of their lipstick and hair and stuff, but not so much with a strong foundation there.
It seemed something was going on with the makeup, because both of them were very similar, and I did, I'm not usually somebody who pays attention to something like that, but it was pretty blatantly obvious something was going on with the makeup. I don't know what it was, but...
If you're not going to give us even a name at all, I'm immediately going to be suspicious. If you don't give us at least some kind... When you're talking about a show based on comic source material, if you don't give me at least a nickname, I'm going to go, that's somebody I know, because they won't tell me yet, you know? Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, maybe it isn't, but I'm suspicious. Everybody else, they gave a name immediately, so... do either of you guys have any theories? Because I don't have one yet. I'm not sure where that's going.
I don't know. I have no idea. I'm curious to see where it goes, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm almost wondering if she's looking for like a Lex Luthor type Mercy to just kind of be her bodyguard, but I feel like that's a little bit too easy. I think there's something more to that role than just being a really strong henchman.
I hope there is, because it seemed like they want me to guess.
Yeah. I'm really hoping Deadshot shows up in this show. I know we already have him in Arrow, but we also had Dollmaker in that show. Yeah. But I think Deadshot would be really cool in this series.
Do you guys have any other predictions or hopes?
I've got one other hope listed, and it's nothing practical. I don't think this is going to happen. But I really want the Riddler that we have in this show to evolve and be the Riddler from the Batman animated series.
And I haven't watched enough of that show to know what he was like, but...
Yeah. He's got 2 episodes that focus on him. He's got Riddled, which is his first appearance, and he's got Riddler's Revenge, which tells his origin. His origin is perfect for the show. His attitude is perfect for the show. Even the way he made those really annoying riddles in the pilot could work for that origin. So I really hope they do something like him. I think the actor would be perfect for that version of the character as well. Because he's got a whole thing of he wants to use riddles and he wants to be smart and he wants to help people, but people screwed him over, and that's kind of why he does what he does, but it's all built on like a false foundation. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it, but it's really good, and me and Superhero Enthusiasts were talking about that version of the Riddler I think that would be great for this show specifically.
I hopes predictions wise, you guys were talking. Well, you were talking about Kappa about how you don't feel like Maroni or Falcone might survive the season. I think it just feels like it's building up to a Mooney taking over and Penguin taking over, and it might be that kind of
and then they fight each other. Maybe that's why they named her that.
Fish Mooney and the Penguin.
Because it's like she's fish food for the Penguin.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they named her like that, and that's some kind of foreshadowing.
Yeah, well, they obviously have a personal connection. He had worked with her for seemingly quite a while, and then they had the falling out. So it feels like obviously he wants to take control of the city and be kingpin, but it also feels like there's going to be kind of like a personal score to settle.
And they're making
ultimately
a big deal with her out of betrayal. She's got that kind of like a contradiction thing where she doesn't know how to treat people right, but then she gets angry if people don't treat her right. So yeah. Did you guys notice any comic book references besides the Arkham and the sort of pseudo Arkham City thing?
One of the detectives that gets name dropped is Carlos Alvarez, who's a character in the Catwoman New 52 book.
Oh, okay.
There's two other just random name drops. One is Rodriguez, who was a news anchor during the War Games storyline in Batman, which is really similar to this.
Oh, okay.
And then there's one more named Frankie, which I've heard is a reference to Long Halloween, but there's no last name given.
Oh, okay.
So it's hard to say.
Let's go on to trivia questions. Steve, do you have a trivia question for us this week, sir?
Okay, well, last time's question
was... Give us that, and I will see who got it right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Last time's question was, who was Maroni's real target when he disfigures Harvey Dent in his first appearance? A lot of people guessed Harvey Kent, because that was Harvey Dent's original name, but within that storyline, his real target is a guy named Dave Pretty Boy Davis, who's actually the cop that has all the evidence and witness testimony and stuff to get him locked up in the first place.
Searching, analyzing.
Somebody got that, and I can't find it. I have it in the wrong. I must have it in the wrong spot because it's not in my regular document for that. Oh, I should have looked this up earlier, and I just didn't. Arg. Okay, I will find one. I will find that and I will put it in the description. Yeah, so somebody got that. I just anyway.
Congratulations, somebody.
Oh, sorry about that. It was a hectic afternoon. Okay, Dan, do you have any trivia questions for us this week?
I should. Next week I will definitely plan one.
All right.
I'm going to plan one.
Sweet. I don't even have notes for what my question was last week. I'm totally. Did I even have one last week? I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure you had one last week.
Yeah.
Wasn't it last time that Dan gave out your answer?
I thought that's what it was, yeah, so I didn't have one. Okay. Maybe nobody got yours, so maybe that's why I don't have that listed here. Maybe just nobody ever answered it. Maybe that's why I don't have it. I should maybe just make myself a note when I say, no one tried.
Well, hopefully someone will get this one, because this one's really easy for this week.
Okay, go ahead and give it to us, Steve.
Okay, this week's question is, an early 20th century author is credited with inspiring the name Arkham. What writer is it, and what short story did he first use the name?
Wow. Finally one I sort of know. Or at least, like, it's on the tip of my tongue. I'm like, oh, yeah, I know that. I had to think for a second, but I know that. Okay, my trivia question for this time, because we keep talking about shoes, I finally got a feet question. My trivia question from the episode is, what color are penguin socks? We get a really good shot of penguin socks. What color are they? I love that suit, so it's a penguin suit question. What color are the socks? Guys, thanks for joining me. Sure appreciate it, as always.
Thanks for having me.
If you folks know the answers to the trivia questions, either of them, send me the answers on Geekvolution.com. Go to the contact page. You can also go to our channel page and send it to me as a personal message. Leave your questions and your comments, and feel free to complain about us talking way too much about Barbara again. Sorry about
keep
that.
Happening.
And it will keep happening. But we will talk about your questions and comments next time on the show. Sure hope you enjoyed it. I am Captain Logan. This was DanzNewz.
Bye.
And Steve Baxi. See you, folks. everyone, welcome once again to Arkham, not Arkham discussions.
Well, close enough.